Hey, what's up? This is Spider Prime 1 with another review. This time, I'm taking a look at all five, current as to the date of the recording, of the LEGO Star Wars 4 Plus sets. These all, on the boxes, have a little red bubble in the corner that has a 4 Plus in it, meaning that these are more younger audience-oriented LEGO sets. They're a lot more simpler builds. Each set has like a giant piece that all the rest of the pieces are built around. Um, for the X-Wings, it's the nose piece. For the A-Wing and the Snowspeeder, it's the entire underpiece is all one. And then the TIE Fighter is the wings. And I want to say like half of the cockpit is like all one giant piece. So I started collecting these not too long ago. I picked up the Snowspeeder and Poe's X-Wing in stores off the shelves because this one is from this year, 2021, and this one's from 2020. So this one was still on the shelves before it's been retired, and this one is current, so it's obviously still going to be on shelves. But then because I had those two and I knew that there were only five, I didn't see it as a big deal to collect the other three so I could get the full series. Come to find out, these things actually have some value to them. So they were ever so slightly pricier than I wanted them to be, but it wasn't too bad. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through them in order of release. So to start off, it's going to be this one has a specific name. I think it's the X-Wing versus Trench Run or something like that. I know Trench Run is in the name. But so we'll take a look at the X-Wing first. So this is Luke's Red 5 X-Wing. It's got the 5 bars to designate the pilot. He's got a little clamp for his lightsaber back here. There's Luke Skywalker in the cockpit. We'll take him out in a second. As you can see, it's small. It's hand size. The wings do open. Otherwise, you can't really have a X-Wing without opening wings. I really like how they decided to do like the wings and the engines for this. Makes me think of the original X-Wing that was just the little friction wings. As opposed to all the complicated versions that have either the spinning gear on the back or the lever that you push down on the top and release on the bottom, or the one that came out this year, which is just kind of like a scissor effect on the inside of the back of the X-Wing, which I have that one, and I can do a video on that at a later date. But yeah, a lot of the contention for some people for this set, or for the X-Wing in general, is the cockpit, which I can totally understand. It's not a full cockpit, it's just that little sliver of a window that goes over the pilot's head, but is completely see-through from, or not just see-through, but just open from the sides. So it doesn't cover the full cockpit like the A-Wing, the Snowspeeder, and the TIE Fighter have. I personally don't mind it. I completely understand as to why it's like, it's a 4 plus set. They're not going for super duper accuracy, so it doesn't really bother me as much as it does some Lego collectors and the more hardcore fans. But it does its job. It lets you know that there's a cockpit there. It doesn't bother me that much. So we'll set that to the side real quick, and then we'll look at the other half of the set, which is a trench gun. So the set it has Luke Skywalker, R2-D2, and a C3PO, a Stormtrooper. Sadly, R2-D2 cannot go in the X-Wing. Just at all. Like what I have seen some people do is take this little white plate off and put R2-D2's head on there just to give a facsimile, and that is a good way to get it to work. But I like to, for review purposes, I like to leave things the way that the instructions say to. So this one, what is kind of neat, I do like how they designed the shooting mechanic. So it's just a pressure launch, and oh, it got stuck. That's fine. There's two more. This one comes with 3 little bullets, so we'll just push one into the other to get it out. Whoop, there it goes. Let's try this one. This one hasn't been sitting in there. There it goes. Launches pretty good. Normally there's not supposed to be the 2 right here, but that's how I like to store them so that I'm not carrying around a little Ziploc baggie with them. Same goes for the ice bit next to the radar gun, but we'll get to that. I like that these are articulated. I wish that they were connected, but because of the mechanism, I understand why. It's got one of the newer Stormtrooper helmets, which I'm not a fan of, but I also don't hate it. I've grown to tolerate the new helmets because I like the dual molding, so that way, like, paint apps, there's not as many paint apps on each helmet. They still have to paint, the mouth, the little thing down here, the stripes, but the eyes will never be misprinted now, and I think the little visor bit, the little black line right here, I think that's also part of the molding. But yeah, so this the little power cell here and the little fan vents here, they're all on just a little nub right there, so very easy to come off. So you can just pretend like the X-Wing flies over, shoots them, and you can flick them off. Which, that is a cool idea. I really like it. But at the same time, if this is a trench gun, this shouldn't be open for the X-Wing to see and hit. So how is the X-Wing supposed to, destroy it from the inside if the inside's supposed to be covered from the hull of the Death Star is supposed to be right here? But that's me overthinking a toy aimed at 4+-year-olds. But no, this one is a very good set. If you were to hunt down any of these, this is a must. I highly recommend this one. 1, it's the only set that has 3 minifigures. 2, it has the biggest add-on piece beside the ship. And I'm more partial to the old X-Wings than to the new X-Wings. But there's a specific reason why I like this X-Wing a little bit better than that one, and we'll get to that when I get to Poe's X-Wing. But yeah, so this one gets a 5 out of 5 for me. The next set, if we bring these up, is the TIE Fighter Attack, which I believe is the correct set name. But you get the TIE Fighter, obviously. You get a Rebel Trooper, who looks like one of the guys that was on the Rebel Blockade Runner. And then he comes with a little station that has blueprint readouts of the Death Star, and then a little radar dish here. So it's kind of a combo of this could be a control panel at Yavin that they plugged the Death Star plans into. But I like to think that this is a very tongue-in-cheek take on the Rebel troopers trying to get the Death Star plans off of Scarif to the Rebel Blockade Runner. And then that explains why the TIE Fighter is there and not a Rebel ship. And then there's just a couple of boxes that you can have the TIE fighter swoosh over and it blows them up. Very nice little builds, just, a block and a plate, but yeah, pretty good boxes. I like the Rebel Trooper. I love these helmets. It's really cool that we have them in Lego. I used to have one of these guys as a keychain a long time ago, but I lost him, and so this is a nice little replacement. And he doesn't have the keychain sticking out of his head. I like that his blaster is silver. That's actually kind of cool. I like the little station with the Death Star plans, the little control panel and the dish. Which I like to think that this guy's on Scarif and he's trying to help Jyn Erso get the plans off to the rebellion. The TIE Fighter. TIE Fighter's cool. I love TIE Fighters. TIE Fighters are my favorite ships in all of Star Wars. Regular TIE Fighters, TIE Bombers, TIE Interceptors, the TIE Advanced, any of them. I love TIE Fighters. This one is pretty cool too. I do find it interesting that this one, the cockpit flips up, whereas I believe like every other TIE Fighter has been the cockpit flips down. But, it's whatever. It's not a big thing. The TIE Pilot actually has like two kind of silvery stripes. That's not very much in focus, but this is kind of a crap camera. He's got silver stripes on the front of his helmet, which the only other set I've seen that marking come in has been the TIE Striker, which also is from Rogue One. That's the one where the wings move up and down with the ship so it can fly in atmosphere, which just leans more credence to me to think that this is a Rogue One inspired set and not a New Hope inspired set. And if you notice, he doesn't have a blaster in his hand because, it would hit the windscreen of the cockpit. On the back, there is another little lifty flap, and it has gun storage. So we have a little itty bitty blaster for the TIE pilots because they weren't really meant, to be shooties. They're more, to fly the ships. So his gun is obviously smaller and not going to be as powerful as a ground troop. But yeah, this one's also a very fun set. I would give this one, since we're doing out of 5 and there's only 5 sets, I give this one a 3 out of 5. This one's middle of the road. I like it, but I like one set better than it and then 2 sets less than it. But yeah, this is a really good set, also worth hunting down. Little on the pricier side just because it's a little older, just like the X-Wing. But it is still a very good ship. So we'll put that back over there in the boxes. And then next we will look at the A-Wing. Now the A-Wing starts a trend of something that I don't really like in a lot of the newer Star Wars ships that I've seen in a lot more recently than not, where the pilot is laying down as opposed to sitting up. A lot of the new ships are doing that. The 2021 X-Wing is doing that. The Resistance Y-Wing does that. A couple other the new 2021 Imperial Shuttle, the pilot's laying down. I don't know why. That would make me think that it's a little harder to see where you're going if you're staring up through the canopy as opposed to forward through the canopy, but oh well. But other than that, I do like this A-Wing. Very small, very compact, nice giant thrusters, big old fins on the top, which are a little over-exaggerated. From what I've seen of like models and the older A-Wings, the fins tend to stop with the thrusters and not go all the way over, which then in turn kind of makes these feel really piddly, because these are supposed to be the bottom fins, and they don't even touch the thrusters. But again, 4+, who cares? I do. But I do still like this build. It was a fun build, not a lot of pieces, but I like the blasters. They're just, that you can swivel them if you want, but it does I thought it did. But that's right. That's not pushed in all the way. If you push them in all the way, they do tend to sit perfectly straight. But then if you start wiggling them and moving them out, then they can spin the full 360. Like they did in the movies. But all in all, it's still a fun build. And I'm having him hold his blaster because there's not really a spot to put it. But his little piece that he comes with, I guess, is a bit of Yavin 4 because it's kind of that sandy color, but then it has a leaf on it. I don't know. I don't remember A-Wings at the Battle of Yavin 4, mostly because they weren't created yet. And then it does come with C-3PO, who has some landing paddles. I think that's funny. I think that's really the only job you could give C-3PO on Yavin 4, outside of staring at just computer screens. And then it also has a little workbench area that has a hammer and a wrench to fix the A-Wing or fix the other ships. Not as impressive of the land build, but it's still serviceable. You still kind of get the feel of what it's doing and what it's there for. This set I give the a 2 out of 5. There's only one set I don't like as much, so we'll put this one back right over here, and then we will grab the Snowspeeder and all his little accessories. So the Snowspeeder uses the same base plate as the A-Wing, so they're exactly the same size. This guy, he actually gets to sit up a little bit, and if I remember correctly from his helmet pattern, that is supposed to be Wedge Antilles, the guy who blew up the second Death Star. So I don't have a Wedge Antilles until now, so it's kind of nice to actually get him in this set. I do like the build. I mean, it is kind of a downside that the famous 2-person ship only gets 1 person and no back cockpit for the harpoon gun, but it's okay. I understand the limitations with doing the 4+ sets. And then the second guy you get in the set is a snowtrooper, and it's actually a pretty good looking snowtrooper. From what I've heard, this is one of the newer style helmets. It doesn't have the backpack stuck to it, but you still can't turn his head because of the big drape in the front. But it does look very nice. I like the brown gloves that they gave him, and he's got the big blaster. And I do also like the little snowspeeder that was given to him, which they didn't have to do. They could have just done the snowspeeder, the radar gun, and then just had him standing out in the middle of the snow. But I like that they added in a little snowspeeder. He's got no handles for it, but it's better than nothing. It was a fun little build to put together. It's only like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pieces. But it was still a fun build, and it actually looks nice and gets the job done. The only thing I would think to improve it is give it the little acorn topper pieces, like probably in black or white to match, just to imply handles. But it's still a really good build. I had fun with it, and I like swooshing it around behind the snowspeeder. And then the radar gun is that was a cool build. I think it's a little tall for the control panel to be up there. Let's see. I actually haven't had a guy stand next to it, so I don't know if it would be super tall. No, it's a little tall. It goes up to his face. So probably would have done a slightly different build on that one, but it still, gets the job done at implying that's how you control it. This also has the little launch gimmick, and then it has one extra bullet, whereas the other one had 2 extra bullets. And then you can stick it in here. The instructions actually show you to hide Wedge Antilles' gun in here, but since the cockpit is a little bit bigger, I could hide the gun, or I could just have him hold it. So this is where I've decided to put the extra little bullet. But I like the ice piece, and then the snow actually, when I was putting this together, I was looking at the pictures in the box. I thought that was actually molded onto the clear plastic piece. It's not, but I like the dynamicism that it breaks up just that solid blue with, and makes it look just a little bit extra. So this was a really nice build. This whole set was a really nice build. This is my 4 out of 5 set, just under the first X-Wing. And then we sadly come to the last in line, the 1 out of 5. Still, I only say that because I'm ranking it out of the 5. This is actually still just as fun of a build as that X-Wing. You just don't get anything with it. It is just Poe, BB-8, and his X-Wing. That's it. Which is such a bummer, because he is the same price as the Snowspeeder set. And you get so much more in the Snowspeeder set than the X-Wing. I do like the colors of this X-Wing. I would have, since it's just Poe and BB-8, I would have liked it more if it was Poe's actual X-Wing, where it was the black with the orange. But I think they did this one so that you could put other pilots and other droids on it, so that way it could, have other people in it, and it's not people stealing Poe's X-Wing. Just like if you wanted someone else to be in Luke's X-Wing, you could just pop the 2 bricks that have the 5 red pips on it, so that way it's no longer the red 5 X-Wing. But one thing that this X-Wing does that X-Wing didn't was give you a spot to put the droid. He still sticks up way farther than he should, but it's a spot for the droid. And if you pop him off and we grab R2-D2, the way that the build sits with the 2 rows of 2 on the sides and then the 1 little nub in the middle perfectly fits an astromech droid. Because these 2 will plug in on the dots, and then the little hole on the inside of R2-D2 plugs on the little nub in there. So he fits perfectly, and he's secured in 3 spots. So they could have done that on Luke's X-Wing, and then still had the clip in the back for the lightsaber. He does look even more ridiculous than BB-8 sticking up over the cockpit, but I like that you can at least have this option. I'll go ahead and put BB-8 back on there. Now, one thing, and I'm going to bring the other X-Wing back up so that we can see it. One thing to notice with the X-Wings is how they build the engines. So the old X-Wings had big intakes, had 4 separate intakes, and then 4 separate outputs on the back. So for Luke's X-Wing, they just used the Lego tire pieces, or not tires, but the Lego rims on the front and the back. And they kept them the same size, even though arguably the intakes were much bigger than the outputs. They could have used the small rim pieces for that, but it still gets the job done. It still looks good from either side. The Resistance X-Wings tried to make the front side look a lot more smoother and streamlined. So it still had 4 intakes, but they were only semicircles. So that way when the wings are closed, it looks like a full circle. But on the back, the X-Wing still had the 4 separate outputs, the 4 separate engines. This one doesn't. This one still does the semicircles, so it's a full circle. which none of the Resistance X-Wings had. I would have liked this a lot more if they still took these 4 and put them on the back of the wings. I know why they didn't. That's extra pieces, which you could argue they would use to jack up the price from $20 to like $22. But I just think that this X-Wing having effectively no engines whatsoever on the back looks worse than it would. I lost how I was going to phrase that. I think it still would look better if it looked like this than having nothing at all. But that's just, that's a gripe for me. I've literally not heard anybody else have that gripe, so I'm pretty sure that it is just a me gripe only. But it is still, outside of the engine pieces, they are the same build. They are the exact same build. And it doesn't have the little cover piece up here, so that this one does. But because the Luke Skywalker one has the extra stuff and is an older set, and therefore it's more expensive and harder to find, this is a cheaper alternative and an easier alternative to come across and get your hands on a small, fun X-Wing. I find myself picking this one up a lot more than the Luke Skywalker one, just because this one, I have the droid in the back, and honestly, I have a lot more fun swooshing this one around than I do swooshing that one around. I couldn't honestly tell you why. I just do. It may be because the fact this was the first one I picked up, or it could just be, like I say, you actually have the pilot and the droid on the ship at the same time. But yeah, I like picking this one up a lot more than I like picking up the other one, just because I think it's also because I don't have to carry around the extra bits with him. I don't have a land piece to keep him with. I don't know. This is still a good set to pick up. It is the least amount for the amount of money you're paying. Which normally I've never really given any care to about that before. If it's something I like, it's something I like. I don't really care what I end up paying at the end of the day. Yeah, it sucks in the moment, but after that, I have the thing, so that's what I'm focusing more on. But I did just want to put out there that while this is a good build, there is a better one that comes with more. It's just harder to find and a lot more expensive. But yeah, I rank them, the old X-Wing as the number 1 set, the Snowspeeder as the number 2 set, TIE Fighter number 3, A-Wing number 4, and the Resistance X-Wing at number 5. But they are all good sets. They are all worth hunting down. I cannot wait to see what they come up with either later this year or in 2022. But yeah, I'm actually really glad that I got into this series and that there's only 5 to collect. I know there's a lot more 4+ sets, like there's a bunch of Marvel and DC ones, there's Jurassic World, all that other stuff. I'm going to stick with just Star Wars. But yeah, these are really good sets. I recommend hunting all of them down. I've given my order as to which ones I think are better. I hope I've made some lick of sense in all of this rambling. But I have been Spider Prime 1. I will be back with another video, hopefully soon. But until then, I am signing off.